Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about an unidentified person. Um, we're going to be talking about the Grundy County Jane Doe. I heard about this case from the YouTube channel Gabulosis. She does fantastic work. She does cases that are vintage, so like 20 years or older. I highly, highly, highly recommend her channel. But there's not really much about this case because she is unidentified, but there's been some interesting progress, so I thought it would be a good video to do. So all the links that I used for research will be down below, like always, and let's get into this. So on October 2nd, 1976, a farmer in rural Illinois found a young woman dead in a ditch. She was naked except for a sweater tied around her head with a plastic bag and electrical tape over it. She had been shot in the back of the head. After previous unsuccessful attempts to identify the woman, authorities buried her in an unmarked grave. But in 2018, they exhumed her body to continue the investigation, taking advantage of new forensic science. And just a little fact, she's actually the only Jane Doe for Grundy County. So the coroner's office is working with the DNA Doe Project, a nonprofit that uses genealogy to try to identify John and Jane Does, which is similar to a DNA test like 23andMe or Ancestry. A team has been able to identify a possible family tree for her. So this is the interesting update I was telling you guys about. According to Karen Binder, the director of education for the DNA Doe Project, her closest DNA matches have common ancestors from the region of Selma, Alabama. So some of the investigators think some descendants of the ancestors moved to Cincinnati, and the Jane Doe might have ties to the West End. The team is still trying to figure out exactly which descendant from those common ancestors in Selma moved to the Midwest and were the parents and grandparents of Jane Doe. So far, the team has pieced together that she was likely born between 1948 to 1960. One of her grandparents was likely named Calhoun, and the other one was likely named Harris. They also think she might have siblings that don't know she exists. So, a lot of interesting stuff here. So, this is a quote from Brandon Johnson, the chief deputy coroner, and he says, "We're hoping that anyone out there may remember an old classmate, an old friend, a relative, cousin that one day just went missing." End quote. Karen Binder is hopeful for identification because she's seen it happen before with other victims from a murder that occurred in the same time period. And this is a quote from her. She says, "Back in the 70s and 80s, there wasn't really a centralized system for reporting people missing like what we have now. So a lot of these people were reported missing by their families, friends, loved ones when they went missing a long time ago, and those missing persons reports just never made it into the computer systems we have today." End quote. Which, yeah, that I feel like that's a lot of a reason why a lot of things don't get solved is just because going from paper to computerized, a lot of stuff just didn't make it over, human error, and that could be the issue with this case. Someone might have actually reported her missing, and they just don't know about it because it's not in their system anymore. But I think it is so interesting that she could have siblings that she doesn't know exist. They know possible names of grandparents, Calhoun and Harris, and the fact that they have a common ancestry tree is so cool that after all these years they were able to pull off enough DNA to find that out. Like, that's crazy because she died in 1976. So all these years later, so 40 years later, I believe, maybe I'm probably bad at math, 30 something years later, they were still able to pull off enough DNA that they were able to find all this information. And because of that, I honestly do agree with Karen Binder. I do think that an identification is possible. I think they really just have to work in, figuring out, like, the link they have to Cincinnati and Selma and, like, who exactly is her closest living relatives now. I really hope that that's something that they can pull off, or maybe someone sees her photo and recognizes her. because it would be so cool to be able to give this woman her name back and not call her the Grundy County Jane Doe, because she deserves to have our identity back. She was senselessly taken, and we don't know why. We don't know who could have done this to her. We don't know anything about her, and she just deserves to have her name back so she can properly rest. And so she can also just be at peace. And also, the family that might not know she exists, they can have her at peace as well, because maybe they do know she exists and there's just some, like, nothing's connecting, you know. So it would just be really, really awesome that if they could do something here soon and find that connection that they need. I thought that was a really interesting update, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. But that is also all I have for you guys. That is the latest update. I guess they're still working on it. Hopefully that's the case. But that is the update I have for you guys. Unfortunately, that's all I have. But if you have information um, about her, if you know who she is, or you might know who she's related to, serious inquiries only, to reach out to the Grundy County Coroner's Office, 815-941-3359, or there's an email, bjohnson@grundycountyil.gov. I will have that on the screen, so if you know anything that could be of use, that could help identify her or find potential family matches, you can go there to submit your tips and give that information. But what do you guys think? Do you think that this is something that could be solved pretty soon? I feel like recently we've seen a lot of Jane and John Doe's finally being identified after all these years. So it's really interesting that they've made this much progress on it. And I really do think that it's something that could potentially happen. But what do you think? Do you think it might be still a few years out? Do you think they're ever going to be able to find exactly what they need? And what do you think about, like, having family that doesn't know she exists? Like, what is your idea, or not your idea, what is your opinion about, the DNA thing anyway? Like, I just think it's so cool. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like always, please be respectful. I want to keep my comments a safe place for people, and nothing nasty needs to be there. So please just be respectful if you leave anything down below. But let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for listening to this video. Please check out Gabulosa's video that she did on it, because she did investigating. She did impressive work on her video, and she deserves that love. Again, her channel name is Gabulosis. Thank you so much for listening to this video. I'm sorry it was so short, but I can't wait to hopefully update you guys about something in this case. And like I said, I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to go now. Bye, guys.